Welcome back to the channel, everyone. In today's video, we're going to look at Stalker 2 on the RTX 3080 Ti at 1440p and 4K. I wanted to see what was possible, stress test the card, and see if the 12 gigabytes of VRAM becomes an issue at any point. All right, so we're going to start here with 1440p and work our way up. I've paired the 3080 Ti with a Ryzen 5900X for now, and we're using the Epic graphical preset with DLAA. So this is native 1440p, maxed out settings as high as you can take them, and we appear to be getting around 60 FPS, which is actually pretty good. And if we look at the VRAM use, it's actually not too bad. We're using around 7, allocating close to 8 using 7 gigabytes, which is pretty good. The game looks absolutely great, very atmospheric, and one thing that I mention all the time, or I try to, is that the Epic graphical preset always has diminishing returns. I think there's quite a bit more performance we can gain just by dropping to the high graphical preset, and that's a good thing to do if you're hitting VRAM limitations as well, which we're not, and I've made sure to stress test the heck out of the game. So we're going to dive more into that. But let's drop to the high graphical preset, and we should gain a little bit more performance out of our 3080 Ti, which we do. We went from 60 to 70, so we got around 10 more FPS, which is, of course, very welcome. Now we're regularly above 60 FPS, which is very nice. And if you look at our VRAM allocation and actual use, it's actually gone down by around 500 to 600 megabytes, which I think the devs deserve some credit for packing so much details, such high quality textures into such low VRAM utilization. That's actually quite impressive. Oh, one thing that is concerning though is this game is very CPU intensive, especially areas with NPCs. You can already see the GPU utilization drop below 99% here as we fight this enemy here, so that is a concern. But anyway, let's take a look at DLSS Quality and see what that does for us. Alrighty then, so here we go. Let's change DLAA to DLSS Quality, and now we're upscaling from 66% of 1440p resolution. And yeah, we do get a little bit more FPS here, around 75 or so, but GPU utilization has now dropped to 85%. So we're not fully utilizing the 3080 Ti. Now in just a minute, we're going to jump on my AM5 Ryzen 7800X3D platform, but before we go there, let me show you. So this area here is a lot of NPCs, and this area here in particular, there's like a loading section right there. See how we dropped to around 46 FPS for a second, and then it sort of catches up. But our GPU is still not being fully utilized here, but this is an army base with quite a few NPCs. Now we do have another trick up our sleeve to get more FPS, thanks to AMD and FSR3, which works on RTX 3000, which is actually great because I've tested FSR3 frame generation in this game. It actually works really well, but let's check it out. Alright, so we'll leave it on DLSS Quality, although it doesn't really matter because we can't even fully utilize our GPU anyway. But if we throw FSR frame generation, oh boy, that's a huge jump, man. It actually looks really smooth, guys. I know on YouTube you're probably not going to be able to tell how smooth it looks because it's a 60 FPS capture, but it does actually look like it's 137 or whatever it is FPS. So it works really well. And if you have a weaker CPU, you might have to use frame generation, but I think you'll find comfort in knowing that it does at least look pretty good. And if we look at VRAM use and allocation, it's actually pretty good. We're below 8 gigabytes comfortably, so that's very nice. But anyway, I say we jump to the Ryzen 7800X3D and see what the 3080 Ti can really do without being limited by the CPU. Alright, so now we're on my AM5 platform, Ryzen 7800X3D. Our settings are still the same, high graphical preset with DLSS Quality. If you'll remember, we were actually getting around 70 FPS in the woods here. And with the Ryzen 7800X3D, now we can keep our 3080 Ti pretty much maxed out, and we're actually kind of close to 100 FPS. That's really, really nice. Let's go ahead and make our way into that base again, because that is a CPU heavy area. Now, very quickly, something I think is worth mentioning is look at our VRAM. We're only using 5.6 gigabytes. So what ends up happening is if you're playing at native resolution, for example, and then you drop to DLSS quality, right? You might have to restart the game for the VRAM buffer to reset. I'm not sure if that makes a lot of sense, but it's kind of what I've noticed is that if you just swap settings all the time and turn things on and off, turn DLSS on and then turn it off, or FSR or whatever, is that the stuff can pile up on the VRAM buffer. And sometimes try to reset if you make some changes and you have VRAM issues. But back to this base, back to this very CPU heavy area here. Well, previously we're getting 60, 55 to 60 FPS or so, and now we're at close to 80 and 90 FPS, so a lot better, a lot better. Very capable GPU, this one, the 3080 Ti. Again, I think it's important to say, and I feel this is genuinely the truth, is that I think the devs have actually done a very good job as far as optimizing the game graphically. I think it runs really well. It doesn't use a ton of VRAM. I think the detail is really good in this game. It's extremely atmospheric. There is some sort of low-res textures, but for the most part, things are very high-res. It looks very nice. I've heard some people say that it doesn't look nice. I don't know what they're smoking, but that's not what I'm seeing. Now, yes, there is some issues. There is some like flickering issues or things clipping through, but still, I think overall it's a very good-looking game, that it's not insanely demanding on the GPU. CPU utilization, though, that is a bigger concern of mine. We'll just fast forward through this gameplay real quick before we jump to 4K. I wanted to make sure, check to see if there was any memory leaks or anything like that. And no, it actually was pretty consistent, which isn't too bad. So yeah, the 3080 Ti or 4070 Super or 4070, around that level of performance, very capable. No problem at all. But let's take a look at 4K, because that's where I'm kind of concerned. Maybe we could run into VRAM issues. Okay, so now I've jumped to my LG C1 OLED TV. We're targeting 4K, of course. Graphics, I'm going to leave it on the high graphical preset, although at the very end, I will show you if it can do epic, everything maxed out. But I think high graphical preset looks extremely good. And with DLSS quality, game actually looks fantastic. Absolutely great. And yeah, we seem to be getting around 60, 65 FPS. And I kept playing the game actually for quite a while just to make sure that there was no VRAM leak or anything like that. Again, like I showed you previously at 4K, we stayed at pretty much around 7 gigabytes of actual VRAM use. And I genuinely believe that a lot of the people that are going to be having issues with this game, performance issues, and they might not even realize it, is that probably going to be CPU related, because a lot of people still use slightly older or weaker CPUs than their GPUs. I had one guy comment with a 4090 that was using an Intel CPU from the Obama administration. It was crazy. Like, games, these more recent games have become extremely CPU demanding. But either way, the 3080 Ti, I don't want to get off topic, at 4K with DLSS quality, high graphical preset, very capable. You're getting 60 FPS, and you could even try FSR frame generation, which we're going to try. But first, let's check out DLSS balance. I don't think it's going to make a big difference, but let's check it out anyway. Oh, holy! I just got struck by lightning. That's never happened to me before. This game is so atmospheric. It's really, especially like right now, you know, it's like pitch black, raining, thunderstorm. Looks very nice. Okay, DLSS balance. Let's check it out. I don't think we're going to get much more FPS. I've noticed this is kind of a trend with Unreal Engine 5 games. We're still getting very similar FPS to what we were getting before, right? We were between 65 and 70, and now between 70, 75 maybe. So yeah, we did get a little bit, but not really worth it. I think DLSS quality is the way to go. You get to keep that higher quality pixels, and we can check out FSR frame generation. Let's go ahead and do that. All right, so I've set it back to DLSS quality and enabled FSR frame generation. So we're getting around 70, 65, 70 FPS here at 4K with DLSS quality. There's 4K. And FSR frame generation actually takes us to 100 FPS, guys. And again, it looks really, really smooth. it works really well, FSR frame generation. So very happy that we can use that because, yeah, I mean, this is a very good and very fun gameplay experience. Very smooth and looks fantastic. Absolutely. I don't know how people can look at this because I've seen a few people say that it looks terrible or Metro Exodus looks better. I think there's some aspects of Metro Exodus that do look better, maybe. I don't think Metro Exodus is nearly as detailed as this. I was actually playing Metro Exodus not that long ago because I was working on a video. And no, Metro Exodus is not as detailed as this. I think it's just people and the way they remember it, probably. Or maybe they're playing on console. I don't know. But this looks really, really nice. As you saw there, we did get jumped by a group of stalkers. And our FPS actually didn't drop all that much. And here, actually, I do get jumped by a bunch of them unknowingly. And yeah, I mean, the game, I didn't feel any stutters or anything like that. As you can see, the frame time looks really, really nice. There's a bunch of stalkers that come for us here. And yeah, really well. You do get some of those glitches if you look at the shadows. In this base, I noticed there's quite a few shadows flickering. At first, I thought it was maybe a glitch, so I restarted the game. But I've played the same area on my 4090 because that's where I am in the story. And it's got to be a bug or something. So I'm not too concerned about it. It is a bit distracting, but it's not too bad. But look at that. There was like 6 or 7 stalkers in there. And our FPS has always been around 100 FPS. So yeah, they're very good, guys. Very impressed with this. So yeah, 3080 Ti, man, very capable. I mean, whether you play at 1440p or if you want to play at 4K, very capable. You can play at 4K 60 without any frame generation. I'll throw FSR frame generation and nearly double your FPS, which is great. But before we wrap up the video, I want to take a look at the Epic graphical preset, even though I think it's a waste of resources. If you have a 4090, yeah, I guess do it, but I don't think it's really worth it because I think the game looks just as good with the high graphical preset. At least I can't really tell a noticeable difference, if I'm being honest. And here we go, guys. Before we wrap it up, I'll show you. I've been playing the game up to about an hour or so, or more. And yeah, we set everything to Epic, DLSS balance. Even though we could probably do quality, it wouldn't change all that much. But as you can see, it's 4K with the 3080 Ti. And my main concern was the VRAM, and it's still at 7.3 gigs. So I've been playing, like I said, for about an hour and a half up to this point. And yeah, the actual VRAM use never went above 8 gigabytes, even with maxed out settings. So yeah, that's very, very cool, actually. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Leave a comment down below. I was actually quite surprised. I think the 3080 Ti did extremely well here. Genuinely surprised because I've tested other Unreal Engine 5 games and they're a lot more demanding. But my biggest concern with this game is I hope that the developers work on optimizing the game from a CPU front. I mean, it doesn't have stuttering issues, even on weaker CPUs. It does have some problematic areas that are very CPU heavy. Of course, that I would say is the biggest issue. So if they can work on that, that would be great. As far as DLSS, FSR, frame generation, those all work as you would expect. They work pretty well. So you have tools to use if you need them. But if you have a slightly older or weaker CPU, you might run into issues. Even if you don't need to have a 4090, guys, to run into being CPU bound, especially with some of these newer games, right? You use DLSS or FSR, you're not really playing at native 4K or 1440p anymore. So yeah, keep an eye out on that. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please give the video a like if you did like it. And if we do get updates that improve on performance, I will test it and I will show what the performances are like I do with other games. So thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.